Broadcasting live from high atop the Sycamore Room at the Norman B. Murray Community Center, it's Breakfast with Gary and Kelly, featuring Grammy Award-winning keyboardist Gregg Karukas.
Welcome to Breakfast with Gary and Kelly, everybody. How's it going? Glad to have you here.
We have a full house today.
Has anyone been injured by flying pancakes this morning? That one moment, of course.
Sorry.
We'll have some paperwork for you to sign on the way out.
We'll give you some syrup.
They are warm, aren't they? They got it right here.
Ooh, careful.
Unbelievable. All right. Well, we've had some great people on this stage over the 4 years that we've been doing this. And it just so happens we've got another one here today who can take great advantage of this beautiful piano that we have on our stage. He has worked, he's Dave Cobb's music director on the Smooth Jazz Cruise, was Melissa Manchester's music director for many years. He's worked with everybody, and he's got a brand new release that's out, Soul Secrets. You've heard it, you've heard about it. Please say hello to Gregg Karukas. man. Good to see you.
Very nice.
We're going to take a break, come back with Gregg Karukas. Stick around here on Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. Nice. Very nice. Welcome back to Breakfast with Gary and Kelly here, everybody. Look, it's Gregg Karukas. I guess they recognize you.
Yeah.
This is great, man. I'm so glad you're here finally after talking about this for so long.
I want to say one thing. When you play the piano, you smile. You
Can't
really
help it.
do. It's so fun to see you just smile.
Thank
you must
you.
really, really enjoy what you're doing.
What can I say, you guys, huh?
You've been doing this a long time, haven't you?
Well, yes, and it's to your point. There were many years when I started out
And you hated it.
when I was just in a zone. No, I was just like, my eyes would be closed and I'd just be just like in a total zone, not paying attention to anything around me, not the audience, not anything, and the manager of the band said, Greg, just once open your eyes. Just one time. And then, many, many years later, many, many notes, many stages, many great audiences, and that sort of makes all the difference, getting comfortable and,
You had to get used to it.
I think so.
Yeah, get used to what you're
Yeah.
doing in front of people.
Yeah.
You're
How
comfortable
fun.
now. You're comfortable now. It's fun. It's fun. I'm assuming it's kind of unusual to get to play a real acoustic piano, huh?
Well, yes, and it's also rare that I don't have my full band with me, but, I brought my
Yeah.
studio in a box with me.
There you go. That'll work.
So,
What a world, huh? So where is your Grammy Award? Where do you have it? You've got a
it's-
Grammy, man. You've
Yeah.
got a Grammy Award. How cool is
Is it up on
that?
the
Isn't that something? That's amazing.
Is it locked up in a safe or is it up on a mantle somewhere?
it's on a shelf in between a couple other nice little things in the
A
family
little league
photos.
trophy and a.
Well, no, but definitely, the Grammy is certainly for any musician, any composer or songwriter, it's the holy grail. I mean, you can only
Yeah.
hope, to get some kind of success, and a Grammy is just complete icing on the cake. And
Yeah.
it's not something that I planned or campaigned for or anything.
You were chosen.
But it's just great, and the best thing about it is that I've played on many, many records with many artists, and I've produced many artists as well. But this particular project and this collaboration was a lot of my compositions. So my own writing and playing and arranging and producing is on that CD. So I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah. As you should. I don't know if anybody's ever given one back. I don't. Walk us through. How did you? The whole thing. How do you find out? Oh my God, I've been nominated. How does that work? And then how do you find out? Are we there that night? Is it?
No, actually, this is the whole thing that's crazy about Grammy Awards and charts. I have just a feeling I'm not into the competition part of it. I'm not into the campaigning. It's great when it happens, but when the nomination was announced, I was just like, well, that's cool. But, I just couldn't, get all super excited.
Right.
However,
Control
when the
the
Grammy
things you
arrived,
can control, and not worry about the stuff you can't control, right?
yeah,
Do you remember
yeah.
the other people that you were nominated along with?
I'm sorry.
Do you remember the other artists that you were nominated along
Well,
with?
yeah, the CD is called Echoes of Love, and it's by a piano player named Omar Akram, who I produced 3 CDs for him over a 10-year period. So this was the final one, and just
Yeah.
they had no idea or imagined that it would be nominated, much less win the Grammy. So. There's 2 Grammys given out, one for Omar and one for me, and that's because, they do good. They give trophies to the producer, the arranger, the engineer, and the artist. And so I'm 3 of those other things.
Oh, nice.
Besides,
Whoa.
so I didn't get 3 Grammys, but I got the one.
Well, thank God they don't do it like the Stanley Cup. Where you'd have to take turns with the thing, So how did you find out? Was it on the broadcast, or was it?
Yes, in the afternoon they give out the Grammys that aren't like the Super Song of the Year
Yeah,
or
right.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And so it's in a category, there's jazz in the afternoon, there's world music, and there's technical, classical. And so the New Age was handed out, and I happened to be, I was actually driving to a meeting, and I remembered, wait a minute, I think they stream this on the internet, much
Really?
like they're streaming this. And so I got out my phone, I said, let me just see if I can get this on my phone, and sure enough, within 5 minutes, and the best New Age album is Echoes of Love.
How
And
funny.
I'm sitting
And you
there going,
went,
what? Well, no, I wasn't driving.
Okay.
I was going to say, then you got a ticket. Yeah,
I
you
was
got
sitting
pulled
in my
over.
car.
Yeah.
Okay,
waiting.
good.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it didn't come, the trophy didn't come for another 2 months, I think it took.
Really?
Because they have to engrave it and everything.
Ooh.
How exciting! How exciting!
Yeah,
What do you? What hat? I mean, you got a nice hat, by the way. What hat do you prefer? Producing, writing, performing? I mean, you've got it all going on, and it's different skills, different skill sets, each one of them.
Yes, and different, I enjoy different parts of everything. The best thing by far is performing. Mm-hmm. And then the second best thing is when you've got a record and you've been working on it for 2-3 years, on and off, in between going out on tour, in between working with other people, and then it takes a long time for the songs to just sort of take root and make sure I like them, And this CD in particular, Soul Secrets, took a while to get out. But the next best feeling is when you finally mastered it and sent it off to the pressing plant. And there's nothing more that you can do about it. The artwork is done, the music is done, you've listened to it 7 million times. And nobody's heard it except for, this is true, most of my CDs, the record label usually doesn't even hear it until it's fully done. But this one, there was only a couple of people that heard the tracks before it was actually out, just my best buddy, Ron Bosted, who I co-write a lot of songs with and who mastered it. My family, they heard it enough.
Yeah,
and the guys that played on it. But nobody else. I just don't say, hey, check this out. It's kind of stays under wraps until it's fully ready.
Surprise.
It's a great lineup of folks that and not surprising because you've worked with so many great people, but I'm thrilled to say that a lot of them have been on our stage. Braun and Huge Groove and boy, great players, great players. What is? Well, did you play together live, or was it or a combination of stuff?
They sent the material in.
On this one, I had all the songs pretty well demoed up and fully orchestrated with rough drum tracks that I had programmed. And then on half of the CD, I brought in the rhythm section guys, Nate Phillips on bass and Eric Valentine on drums. And then the three of us played together for the rhythm tracks.
Wow.
And then I usually bring my guitar player buddies over for a separate day of overdubs on everything. And Vincent Ingala is on 5 tracks, and he came over for a couple of afternoons. And we
Did you have to sign him out of school?
I thought you were going to
Vince-
say
I know,
his
yeah,
mom come.
exactly. He's unbelievable, isn't he?
Vince is 21 now.
Oh, all right.
I've known Vince
So
since
he's
he
out
was
of-
17.
Yeah,
so
that's what we
Yeah,
have.
right, exactly.
He was 17.
He's an amazing kid, isn't he?
yeah, and not many people know that Vincent also plays incredible drums, guitar, even piano, sings, and of course, great saxophone.
Yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah, he's featured on this heavily.
Yeah, you've got a great lineup. We are, we're going to we're going to insist that you play some more. So we're going to, if you take a
wait.
break, and if you push back, we'll give you some pancakes. But we're going to take a break and come back, and Gregg Karukas will perform for us here on Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. Stick around. Welcome back to Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. By the way, we'll mention it. This is the first day and first weekend of our fall membership drive, first one we've done in a couple of years. We do have people at the station right now that are happy to answer the phone. If you want to call 949-582-5727, that's 582-KSBR. You can also go to the internet and click on the thing at ksbr.org. That's right. We know we have folks in Holland that are watching us streaming it live.
And
on Alert the Globe,
England,
and England, and Holland, and Oslo, and all that stuff. We'll take all your darn money. Exactly, exactly. And in the meantime, Mr. Karukas is here at our beautiful piano. This is the new CD. They don't all come with writing on it. I
He
just
got
happen
it
to have one.
autographed.
I know what
let's
you're
say
thinking. How did you do
Thanks,
that?
Gary.
Exactly,
Not
exactly.
Helen.
What are we going to hear, Mr. Karukas?
I'm going to play something from my last CD, which is called GK. I'm going to play a song called Wildwood.
Oh, terrific. Gregg Karukas.
Thank you very much. Well, I'd like to play something brand new right now, and this is from the new CD, Soul Secrets. I'm going to do a couple new songs actually this afternoon, and this is the first single that's been out on the radio for maybe 6 weeks, I think, and we're so happy that it's really climbed up the charts very fast. This is called Elegant Nights.
Beautiful. Great stuff. Gregg Karukas is going to take another break. Come back. Stick around here on Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. Really good, Greg.
What? I'm trying to squeeze.
Kelly was just showing off her grasp of all their languages.
Hey, it's better than my bird sounds.
Anything is better than your bird sounds, really. You know, how often do you hear that? It's better than my bird
Let's talk to Greg, because he's here, and I have, these are piano hands.
Yeah, you think so?
They are. Look at these hands, you guys. These are piano hands.
Particularly long.
No, they really are. They're long and piano-y, you know, so you can like get those notes.
Some of them are white, some are black.
No, I wanted to ask you, have you, when did you start?
Don't worry, Greg, this will be over shortly.
This is a very educational for the children that we have in the audience.
Yes, it is.
When did you first started playing piano?
Well, when I was about 5 or 6, my 2 older brothers had already started taking piano lessons, so I wanted to take piano lessons too. So I was able to start at about 6 or 7, and I didn't really get serious about it for a couple of years, and I sort of took off. And then I got a classical teacher when I was 11 or 12, and stuck with her for 2 or 3 years. And then I stopped, and I got asked to join the high school stage band. And I was in 8th grade, and I became the understudy under the piano player who was a senior. He was getting ready to graduate. So they said, you know, we need a new guy to come in. So when I was in 8th grade, I started playing. I got to play 1 or 2 songs for every gig that we would play. And we actually, this 24-piece jazz band played a lot of gigs. We played the Elks Club, the Lions Club. We would play bowling parties.
That's big for an 8th grader.
Absolutely.
Nick, how old are you?
It was
11.
all
see?
right. It was just great experience to be, you know, performing and see how it's done. And, you know, everybody loads in, everybody loads out. And, you know, that really got me into jazz. And I would pretty much consider myself self-taught on jazz. I've had a couple of teachers along the way, but pretty much self-taught.
Wow.
Is your family musically inclined? Is your mom, dad?
No, none of my other family, just my brothers.
Yeah.
My older brothers, and then me.
Your dad had a tavern or something, didn't he?
Yes.
And you, I mean, your musical education included a jukebox, right?
This is the whole thing. You know, Soul Secrets were coming full circle because my father had a roadside tavern in Maryland, and it had the red checkered tablecloths, and it had a pool table in one room, and it had a jukebox in the corner, and a long bar. And when the guy the jukebox was on all day, and we lived next door in a kind of a shack house. You know, it was just out in the country, kind of on a highway. And when the guy would come to put new songs in the jukebox, they had 45s, you know, they were like this, and they had one song on each side. And I know some of you people obviously remember that.
Heck yeah.
But, so he would, the old ones, he would give them to my brothers and I.
Oh, is that right?
So we had stacks of 45s, you know, everything, especially Motown, soul music, surf music, the Beatles, of course, because you know, this was 1963, 64, 65.
Elvis.
When I was 7, 8, and 9. And yeah, Elvis, Ray Charles. And so all of the hits were there. And so I just had them going in and out of my brain all the time.
Yeah.
And of course, the first song that I ever learned the words to was Otis Redding's Dock of the Bay.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
And that's 3rd grade, walking to school every day, singing that song to myself. And so, you know, there's always been an element of soul in jazz, and it's now sort of come up, you know, I've always sort of had a soulful thing that I've always wanted to convey on all my CDs. Now it's kind of like really there, on the title, on the front. Yeah. Soul Secrets. It's no secret anymore. Secret's out.
There you go. There you go. Well, how old were you when you came out to LA?
I was about 26.
Terrifying?
Well, yes and no. I didn't know anybody except for 2 or 3 people when I moved to Los Angeles. I had never been to California. I'd never been west of St. Louis. And I had a choice when I decided to move from Washington, D.C. I had been playing in a couple of original bands, and we had become like the top jazz fusion bands in town, but couldn't quite get out of the Mid-Atlantic region, couldn't get signed to that big record deal. So the bands...
This was what year, roughly?
This would have been 1980, 79, 80, 81.
Okay.
So the band disbanded. We did a farewell concert at the famous Bayou in Georgetown, and then I formed my own little group, which was a power trio. And we played, and we opened up some shows for Jeff Lorber and Billy Cobham, and that's where I first met Kenny G and Jeff. Kenny G was still playing in Jeff's band, hadn't yet quite become a solo artist. And then I sort of had a choice of moving to New York or Los Angeles. And I'd visited New York a bunch, and I had friends that I would stay with, and it's an incredible jazz scene, and nice place to visit. But every time I would visit New York, something would happen. My car would get broken into. We got mugged in an elevator.
Oy.
And being a keyboard player, I had, a Fender Rhodes that, weighed 120 pounds, and the amps and the synthesizers, all stuff that I would need to get around to get to gigs. And I thought, boy, New York City,
Yeah, that's going to be
it's
a
a
nightmare.
lot of logistical stuff. I said, well, let me just see what California is
New
like.
York is better for a piccolo player.
Yeah, or trumpet or sax.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But yeah, so I drove cross country, shipped a bunch of my stuff, and had my truck full of keyboards. And I had saved up a bunch of money. I had saved up about $3,000.
Ooh.
And I had my friend Ned Einstein, who I stayed with for 2 months until I got my own place. And within 12 days, well, let me tell this really quickly. Russell Ferrante, who was the keyboardist in the Yellow Jackets, I had met Russell years before because my band opened up for Robin Ford's band. Before the Yellow Jackets became the Yellow Jackets, Russell was playing with Robin. And so I stayed in touch with the guys in the Yellow Jackets, and when they came through DC, I would hang out a little bit with Russell. And so he says, if you ever come out to LA, call me. So sure enough, my third night in Los Angeles, I went to a little club in the Valley to see Russell playing with Ernie Watts, the great saxophone player. And we went out for eggs afterwards, as is the jazz tradition. You go to breakfast after the gig. And Russell was very nice, and he says, don't worry, Greg, you're good. People always need keyboard players. And I'm sort of saying, well, that's very nice for him to say that. And I'm thinking, I'm prepared to starve for a few months and, see what happens. And it was like 2 or 3 days later, I get a call, and it's Shelby Flint. And I didn't know who Shelby Flint was. And she says, hi, Greg, Russell gave me your number. I have a gig at Dante's this Saturday. And can you play it? And she says, she remembers, she says, the first thing I asked was, is it original music? And because I don't think I wanted to just go out and start playing lounge gigs. I had done that for many years. I didn't want to just go and play with any old singer and just, even though that is a fantastic way to network and get your name out there. That was just my first question. I wasn't going to say no, whatever it was.
Yeah.
She says, no, it's all original, and I can bring by the music. And she came by Ned's house like the next day, and it was like 3 or 4 days before the gig, and she had a stack of music folio. It was this tall.
Oh, my.
Every chart was written out in her ink.
Oh.
Every arrangement she wrote, every song original. So I learned that stuff. I worked on that for 3 days, and I showed up with no rehearsal my 12th day in Los Angeles.
Wow, what a great
Playing
story.
at Dante's. Yeah.
Baptism by fire.
And then the exclamation mark, of course, is that she sings on
Yes.
the track on the new CD.
Yes, and so I continued to play with Shelby's band, and in the band was the drummer who had played with Paul McCartney and Wings, the original drummer, the bass player who was playing with Joan Armatrading, and the saxophone player from Kim Carnes, and the percussion player who had played with Diana Ross, and everybody from Motown. So automatically, they're looking over, who's this kid? He was playing this music without any rehearsal.
Wow.
And in the audience during a break, I'm sitting there talking with somebody, and I look over my right shoulder, and it's John Guerin, famous
Oh, my
drummer.
goodness, really?
Played with Joni Mitchell for years, played with Tom Scott in the LA Express, and Frank Zappa, and many people. And he goes,
Was Max sitting next to him?
no, Max was not there, but John's standing there, and he goes, hi, yeah, sounds real good. I go, thanks. Oh, you're John. Nice, very nice to meet you. He goes, yeah, sounds really good. It's like,
Wow.
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah, unbelievable.
And, just kept sort of
Good for you.
going from there.
How did you get hooked up with Melissa Manchester?
Oh, well, that's a great story because playing with Shelby, I continued to play, and we were the hot band at my place, a couple of showcase clubs. She was supposed to be the next big deal after Al Jarreau got signed. She and Al sort of came up together, and so we would play these shows, and we played a show with Kitty Hawk, which was a fusion group that featured two guys on stick, which was like a fretted instrument with like 13 strings, and you play bass lines, and so it was a fusion band, and the saxophone player was Richard Elliott.
Oh.
And so I met Richard, and he said, yeah, nice to meet you, you sound good. And within a few weeks, he had asked me to play in his band. So I was playing in Richard Elliott's band at my place, and then the keyboard player who was playing with Melissa Manchester happened to write a little song called On the Wings of Love for Jeffrey Osborne.
Oh.
So he decided he'd be smarter to stay in LA and continue writing songs and not tour with Melissa. So there I was,
In comes Gregg.
Richard recommended me, and that was another gig where I showed up, no rehearsal. I had to learn the music and, toured with Melissa for almost 2 years.
Yeah. She's just wonderful, and I have to tell you, one of the real special moments for me in all the years of the station and at the Bash was this past year with you and her back up on stage together. It just so fun.
It was such a treat and a surprise to see Melissa. I hadn't played with her in, 25 years, and I had done a couple of a Tonight Show here and there, a few years after I left the band, but I had seen her. I took my kids and my family to see her like 12 years previous. So I had no idea that she was going to be there or that they were going to ask me to play with her. So it was like, here's some music, take a look at the music, and let's play it.
Wow.
And it was
just like old times.
Yeah, it's just really a treat.
What a wonderful gal.
Oh, Melissa is just the real deal as a composer, as a singer, incredible, as a performer, just such a total professional.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see what she does when she comes and visits with you guys.
Yeah. Oh, same here. Same here. We're so looking forward to that in January. It's going to be great. My goodness, we can keep going. There's a couple things that I wanted to touch base. You dedicate this to the late great Ricky Lawson. My goodness, what a loss. And George Duke, another. Just we've lost some great ones, and now Joe Sample too, and it just what can you even say what Sample and Duke would have meant musically to us?
I dedicate Elegant Nights to Joe Sample because literally as I was putting the final touches on the credits, I had known Joe was sick, and I had seen him almost not quite a year before, and I was thinking, I know Joe's sick. I hope he hangs in there because I'm writing Ricky, because I had just played with Ricky before he suddenly passed away.
Right.
And George Duke, that was another complete shock because he didn't tell anybody about his illness. And then it wasn't 2 weeks later that Joe passed away after I turned in the CD for the printing. And all these guys, Ricky and George, are part of a set of music because Ricky Lawson played in George's first band, and I saw them do 3 shows in a row in Washington, D.C. when I still lived there. And then I played with Ricky in so many different situations, including on the cruise, with Dave Koz cruise. Yeah. I brought him onto the stage. We had our bands already, but for Patty Austin, I brought him into that situation because he had played with Patty before, and that was a really great connection there. And then, of course, Joe is just a beacon for all of us guys who are in contemporary jazz because he comes out of the 60s, he comes out of jazz, and he established soul groove jazz big time with the Crusaders. The Crusaders have sort of set the standard on the West Coast especially, and then on the East Coast it was a group called Stuff that featured Steve Gadd and Richard T. and Eric Gale as the band that was doing, and they were the rhythm section for so many classic records, from Grover Washington to David Sanborn to Al Jarreau, all these guys. And so they're a part of what we've done to this point. So now that they're gone, it's just really, it's sad, but we've got to carry it on. Man.
Yeah, exactly. This is going too fast. I'm so grateful for your to be here. We're going to get another tune out of you. We're going to take a break first. Please stick around here on Breakfast with Gary and Kelly. Gregg Karukas. We'll be right with you. There we go. Welcome back. Yeah, we had to do that. The obligatory. So let me ask you, is this like a Popeil product or something?
Gary,
Exactly. It slices and dices.
this thing has been around the world a few times, and it's held together with a little bit of tape.
There you go.
If everything
There
works
you go,
out,
man.
it'll hold together
Okay, so
for
you got
today.
CDs here for sale, correct?
Oh yeah, we bought a bunch of
guys.
CDs. On the internet, we have CDs for sale. You can get them everywhere,
There you go.
and especially at my website too, and
There you go.
I'll sign them for you that way.
This is fun stuff. This is fun stuff. What are we going to hear, man?
I'm going to play something new from the new CD. This is
Okay.
called Cafe A Go Go.
Very nice. Gregg Karukas here.
Yay.
so much, Gregg.
Lovely. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Great to have him here. Gregg Karukas, everybody. Pick up a copy. Soul Secrets. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next month with Ray Parker Jr. Thanks for supporting KSBR Radio, too.
Gregg Karukas, everybody. Thanks, Gregg. Good job. Great job.